The war was finally over. Human soldier Jack Rayner stood in front of a giant iron door, still wearing his dusty armor. His body was tired, bruised, and aching from weeks of non-stop fighting. But even more tired was his mind, filled with images of explosions, screams, and fire. "Commander Jack Rayner," a tall alien guard said coldly, "follow me. You are to receive your reward." Jack didn't answer. He simply nodded and walked silently behind the guard, down a dark metal hallway inside the alien fortress. The air was heavy. Lights flickered above. He could still smell smoke in the distance. At the end of the hallway, the guard stopped in front of a thick black curtain. Without a word, the guard pulled it open. Jack stepped in. The room was cold, quiet. A strange silence hung in the air, like something wasn't right. Then he saw them. 2 alien women, chained to the wall. Their wrists and ankles were bound in glowing metal cuffs. Their clothes were dirty and torn. One was sitting against the wall, her eyes closed, her small body shaking. The other was standing, barely, her purple eyes locked on Jack with a mix of fear and fire. Jack froze. "This," the alien official behind him said with a smug voice, "is your reward." Jack turned, confused. "What? You may choose." "One, just one, as a gift, for your service. Take her. Do what you wish. She's yours now." Jack's face darkened. He looked back at the 2 chained women. The one sitting looked younger. Her skin was pale silver, and her hair hung like fine threads of moonlight. Her arms were covered in bruises, and her head leaned weakly against the cold wall. She didn't even open her eyes. The other one stood straight. Her skin was a light shade of blue, and her face was cut, bleeding slightly from the lip. But her gaze was strong, defiant, angry. She didn't flinch when Jack met her eyes. Jack felt a knot form in his chest. "These are living people," he said, his voice quiet but sharp. "They're just property." The official shrugged. "They were taken from a lost colony. They have no family, no home. They're nothing. That's why they're perfect as gifts." Jack stepped closer. The girl sitting didn't move. The one standing growled softly under her breath. "What's your name?" Jack asked her gently. She didn't answer, but her eyes narrowed. Jack sighed and looked back at the official. "You really think I want this as a reward?" The official smirked. "Don't lie. Many soldiers begged for them. You're lucky we saved these 2 for you. You earned it." Jack turned back to the women. Something deep inside him whispered, "Don't leave them here." He remembered the battlefield, how he'd carried a wounded alien child across the blood-soaked trenches, how he lost his own men to protect innocent civilians. These girls weren't rewards. They were prisoners, slaves, and he knew exactly what would happen to the one he didn't choose. Jack's fists clenched. "Fine," he said at last. "Then I choose both." The room went silent. The official laughed. "That's not allowed. One. You pick one, human." "I pick both," Jack said again, louder. "Or I walk away with neither, and I bring the news of this twisted place back to Central Command." The smile faded from the official's face. "That would be a mistake." Jack took a step forward. "Try me." There was a long pause. The 2 alien women looked at him, this strange human, who wasn't acting like the others. Then finally, the official waved his hand. "Take them. It's your problem now. But don't expect us to help when they turn on you." The chains dropped. The women didn't move right away. They didn't understand. They'd never been unchained before. Jack stepped forward slowly and offered his hand. The silver-skinned girl looked up, confused. Her lips trembled. The blue-skinned one stepped in front of her, shielding her from Jack, even though she was clearly weak. Jack didn't force them. He just said softly, "You're free now. I won't hurt you." The 2 girls looked at each other. Then, for the first time, the blue-skinned one spoke. "Why would a human save both of us?" Jack looked her in the eye. "Because no one else will." Outside, the wind howled. And far above, in a dark ship floating in the sky, someone was watching. And wasn't pleased. Asterisk, a sharp alarm rang through the dark fortress. Kayla, the blue-skinned alien girl, snapped her head up. Her body tensed. Even without her chains, she felt trapped. Beside her, Lumi, the silver-skinned girl, struggled to stand. Her legs trembled. "Is this a trick?" she whispered. "Are they playing with us again?" Kayla didn't answer. Her eyes were on the human. Jack Raynor stood still, calm, even as red lights flashed above and heavy boots thundered in the hall outside. The guards were coming. "Stay behind me," Jack said as he grabbed a metal rod from the wall, some kind of broken pipe. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. The door burst open. 3 alien soldiers rushed in, weapons raised. Their leaders snarled, "You can't take both. That breaks the law." Jack didn't blink. "Then change your law." Kayla stepped forward. He chose both. "Deal with it." The guards hesitated, confused. This wasn't normal. Slaves never spoke back, and a human defending them? That was unheard of. "Put them back in chains," the commander ordered. Now, Jack didn't move. "If you try," he said, voice calm but cold, "then I'll make sure the entire human fleet knows what happens in this place." He tossed a small metal cube on the floor. It flickered, showing a recording of the chained girls, of the official, offering them like objects. Evidence. Real proof. The guards stopped. The leader cursed under his breath. "He recorded it. Kayla stared at Jack. Her mind raced. Why would a human, especially a soldier, risk everything for 2 aliens he didn't even know? The guards backed off. For now. But Jack knew this wasn't over. He turned to the girls. "We need to leave now." They moved through the shadows of the fortress, avoiding cameras and soldiers. Jack knew war zones. He knew how to disappear. But Kayla noticed something strange. He always kept Lumi between them, always shielding her. No one had ever protected them like that. Not ever. Outside, the sky was dark and stormy. Their breath came out in cold white clouds. The alien city was glowing in the distance, but Jack didn't head that way. Instead, he led them into the mountain cliffs beyond the base toward old ruins, long forgotten by both sides of the war. Finally, they stopped to rest inside a broken temple, its walls covered in moss and silent carvings. Lumi sat beside a fire Jack built. Her eyes were full of confusion. "I don't understand," she said softly. "We're not worth saving." Jack sat beside her. "Who told you that?" "Everyone." Kayla stayed standing. She didn't trust him, yet not fully. "Why did you really take both of us?" she asked. "Some men like control." Jack looked at her. "I've seen control. I've seen power. But I've also seen what happens when no one stands up for the weak." Kayla folded her arms. "We're not weak." Jack nodded. "Good, then let's stay that way." For a moment, the fire cracked quietly. The storm outside howled through broken windows. Then Lumi spoke again. "They'll come for us, won't they?" Jack didn't answer at first. But then he said quietly, "Yes, they will." Kayla turned sharply. "Then why not run?" "Because I don't run from bullies," Jack replied. "I fight them." Kayla blinked. This human was strange. Different. I suddenly gasped and pointed behind them. "Look!" Outside the temple ruins, a drone hovered. A red light blinked. It had found them. Jack grabbed his coat and motioned fast. "Move! We're not safe here anymore." Kayla helped Lumi stand, and they rushed back into the night. As they ran through the cold mountains, Jack thought of something his brother once told him during training. You can tell the measure of a man by who he defends when no one else will. Behind him, Kayla and Lumi struggled to keep up, but he didn't slow down. He would protect them, even if the galaxy turned against him, even if it cost him everything. The cave was dark. Rain fell outside like it was trying to wash the world clean, but nothing could wash away what had been done to them. Inside the cave, by a dim fire, Jack Rayner finally saw what he had rescued. Not just two alien girls, but two souls who had been broken in silence. The silver-skinned girl, Lumi, was asleep. Her small frame curled near the fire, shivering even under Jack's jacket. But it wasn't the cold that made her shake, it was fear that never truly left. The other, Kayla, sat on a flat rock, staring at Jack. Her arms were crossed, but her eyes were watching every move he made. "I need to check Lumi's wounds," Jack said, carefully pulling out a small medkit from his bag. "She doesn't like to be touched," Kayla said coldly. "I understand," Jack replied. "I'll ask first." He knelt beside Lumi and gently whispered her name. Her eyes fluttered open, panic flashing for a second, but then she saw him. Just the human. She nodded slowly. Jack gently rolled up the sleeves of her torn dress, and what he saw nearly made him stop breathing. Burn marks. Deep cuts, old scars, each one looked like it had a story, but none of them should ever exist on someone so young, so innocent. Kayla looked away, jaw tight. They called her a healer, but to them, she was just an experiment. They wanted to see how much pain she could survive and still heal others. Jack swallowed hard. "And you?" he asked quietly. Kayla said nothing for a moment. Then she turned her back to him and pulled her shirt up. His breath caught in his throat. Her entire back was covered in deep, jagged scars, layer after layer. Some looked like whip marks, others like blade wounds. But what shocked Jack most was the symbol carved near her spine, a mark of ownership. "She fought back," Lumi said from the fire, her voice soft. "They hated her for it." "I was trained to be a war pet," Kayla said, lowering her shirt again. "A weapon. They wanted me to obey. I refused." Jack stared into the fire. He had seen many horrible things in war, but this was evil, dressed as culture. Suffering sold as a reward. "I'm sorry," he finally whispered. Lumi blinked. "Why are you sorry? You didn't hurt us." Jack looked at her. "Because I wore the same uniform as those who did nothing. Because I was blind, until now." Kayla stood, her eyes narrowed. "Don't pretend to be a hero. You chose us, yes, but that doesn't erase what we've lost." "I'm not pretending," Jack said calmly. "I don't want to fix the past. I just want to make sure your future is different." Silence fell between them. Then Jack asked something unexpected. "Do you know how to use a weapon?" Kayla's eyes widened. "Why?" "Because they won't stop chasing us," he said. "And if we're going to survive, we'll need to fight." Kayla smiled for the first time, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was sharp, hungry. "I've been waiting for someone to ask me that." She reached into the pack Jack had stolen from the outpost and pulled out a blaster rifle. It was old, dirty, but still usable. Lumi watched from the fire, unsure. "I don't know how to fight," she whispered. Jack looked at her kindly. "You don't have to. Your strength is different." Kayla loaded the weapon. "She's more dangerous than she looks. You'll see." A deep rumble came from the sky above the cave. Jack stood and looked outside. A scout drone hovered in the storm. "Just one, for now. They found us again," he said. Kayla grabbed the rifle and stepped beside him. "What now?" she asked. Jack took a deep breath and stared into the rain. "Now we stop running, from broken chains to broken bodies, to something new. 3 runaways who refused to be silent anymore." The first shot didn't make a sound. It whizzed past Jack Rayner's ear and hit the cave wall with a sharp crack. Kayla didn't flinch. She was already in motion, grabbing her rifle, diving behind cover, pulling Lumi down with her. "They're here," she hissed. Jack cursed under his breath. He had hoped they had more time, but the enemy didn't wait. Outside, shadows moved. Through the storm, quiet, fast, and armed. Not soldiers, hunters. Professional trackers. the kind sent to collect lost property. Jack peeked from behind the rock. At least 4 of them. Maybe more. They wore cloaks that shimmered, almost invisible against the rocks. But he had seen that kind of armor before during the war. They weren't just here to capture, they were here. To erase. They want us dead, Jack said. No, Kayla growled. They want us alive, you're disposable. Jack smiled grimly. Then let's make them regret that. He passed Coley an extra energy cell. She clicked it into her weapon without a word. Behind them, Lumi was curled into herself, her hands glowing faintly with silver light. She was trying to stay calm, trying not to panic. But she felt something. Not just fear. She felt death approaching. The hunters didn't speak. They didn't yell. They didn't give warnings. They just crept closer. Suddenly, Kayla stood up and fired. The blast hit one hunter straight in the chest. He flew back, crashing into a rock with a scream. 3 left, Kayla said. RELOADING. Jack moved fast, flanking right, drawing fire. 1 bolt grazed his shoulder, but he didn't stop. Lumi screamed. 1 of the hunters had snuck in from behind. He grabbed her by the wrist, trying to drag her away into the dark. But the moment he touched her, she flared. A burst of pure energy exploded from her body, throwing the hunter across the cave wall like a rag doll. His armor melted. His weapon shattered. I collapsed, gasping. Jack caught her before she hit the ground. What was that? He asked. I don't know, she whispered. It just happened. Kayla looked at her in awe. She's more than a healer, she said. She's a weapon. No, Lumi said weakly. I don't want to be. Outside, the last 2 hunters retreated into the rain dash, disappearing. They would report back. Jack knew what that meant. This was just a scout team, he said. The real storm is coming. Kayla stepped closer to him. Then we need to stop running. Jack looked at her. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't scared. She was ready. We need transport, he said. A ship off-world. I know someone, Kayla replied. But he hates humans. Jack gave a small smirk. Sounds like my kind of friend. Later that night, they moved through the forest under darkness. Rain poured down. Every sound made Jack's hand twitch near his weapon. Lumi walked slowly between them, her steps unsure. You okay? He asked her gently. She nodded. I think I'm changing. Jack frowned. How? I was trained to heal. I was told never to harm. But when he touched me, something inside me broke. That wasn't weakness, Jack said. That was strength waking up. Lumi looked up at him. No, she whispered. That was fear. And it's still here. Jack didn't know how to answer that, because she was right. They were all still afraid. But fear wasn't the end. It was fuel. By morning, they reached a hidden station built into the cliffside, rusted, forgotten, but still alive with old tech. Kayla banged on the iron door. A metal eye scanned her face. A voice grumbled. You brought a human? He saved my life, Kayla said. Long silence. Then the door opened. Inside stood a massive alien with 4 arms and a scar across his face. He looked at Jack like he was dirt. But then he looked at Lumi, and something changed. What is she? He whispered. Someone who deserves to live free. Jack said firmly. The alien grunted. I hope you're ready, human, he said. Because now that you've touched these 2. He pointed at Kaela. Then at Lumi. You've painted a target on your back the size of a moon. Jack nodded. I'm already used to being hunted. The alarm didn't ring. It screamed. Inside the cliffside station. Red lights blinked fast. The walls shook. A voice echoed through the hallway. Incoming strike team. Estimated arrival, 2 minutes. Jack Rayner looked up from the console, his heart pounding. They're early. Kayla slammed her fist into the wall. They tracked us again. Probably through the wound in your arm. You're bleeding, Tech. Jack gritted his teeth. Then let's move now. Behind them, Lumi stood near the launch pad, her skin pale and glowing faintly from stress. She had barely slept since the fight in the cave. Now her breathing was sharp. Unsteady. The alien mechanic Varrock, Kella's old contact, ran into the room with a panic in his voice. I've got a ship powered and ready, but listen to me, there's a problem. Jack turned fast. What is it? Varrock shook his head. The shuttle's old, small. It can carry 2 people. Max, 3 will overload the core. Silence. Fell. Kayla stared at him. Lumi took a step back. Jack stood frozen, the weight of the words slamming into his chest. Only 2 could go. 1 had to stay behind. We're not leaving anyone, Jack said. There must be a way. There's no time, Varrock snapped. Pick now or you all die. Lumi looked at Kayla. Kayla looked at Jack. Jack looked at them both. Then he took a deep breath and said something they didn't expect. You 2 go. I'll stay. Lumi's eyes went wide. What? No. Kayla stepped forward, voice shaking. That's suicide, Jack. He gave a soft smile. I've done enough killing. If someone has to stay, let it be me. Lumi's legs gave out. She fell to her knees, tears filling her eyes. Kayla clenched her fists. I'm not leaving you, not after everything. Jack walked over and gently touched her shoulder. You're the warrior, Kayla. Protect her. Keep her safe. But Lumi wasn't crying anymore. She was glowing. Her body shimmered with energy, bright, silver light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air around her trembled. Kayla noticed first. Lumi, I won't lose another protector, Lumi whispered. Not again. Suddenly her hands lit up, and her voice echoed strangely, like wind passing through stars. I choose a 3rd. Way. She touched the wall of the station, and it responded. The entire structure began to shift. Energy surged. Sparks flew from control panels. The ship's warning lights blinked out, and a new energy core inside the shuttle glowed brighter than ever before. Varrock screamed. She just woke up alien tech that hasn't worked in 100 years. The ship's console now showed a message. Capacity 3, accepted. Jack stared at Lumi, speechless. She looked at him with tired, glowing eyes. I don't want to be a weapon, but I won't let kindness die. Kayla laughed under her breath, shaking her head. She just rewrote the rules. Jack nodded slowly. Then let's fly. They ran to the shuttle, weapons ready, hearts pounding. Outside, enemy dropships descended, fast black shapes against the burning sky. As the shuttle's doors sealed and the engines roared. The station behind them exploded, hit by a missile. Just seconds too late, Kayla watched through the window as flames swallowed the past. Lumi closed her eyes and whispered, something in a language neither of them knew. And Jack. He sat between them, one hand gripping a rifle, the other holding Lumi's. The choice had been made, and it had changed everything. Asterisk. The ship shook. Hard. Sirens wailed inside the cockpit as Jack Rayner fought to keep the stolen shuttle in the sky. Smoke poured from the side panel. Sparks flew. The controls were barely holding together. This wasn't built for speed, he shouted. I noticed. Kayla yelled, pressing on a coolant valve with her bare hand. Her knuckles were bleeding, but she didn't care. We're overheating. We'll burn up in the clouds. In the back, Lumi sat against the wall, clutching her chest. Her glow had dimmed. She looked pale, cold. Empty. She had used too much energy back at the station. Too much. Stay with us. Jack called over his shoulder. Lumi didn't answer. Outside, 2 enemy drones zipped closer. Small, fast, deadly. One locked on, ready to fire. Jack knew they wouldn't survive another hit. Kayla, cover me, he ordered, leaving the controls. Kayla's eyes widened. You're flying this thing. It's flying itself now, he said, tossing her the seat. Just don't crash. He ran to the back, opened the side hatch, and aimed his blaster. The freezing wind slammed into him like a Hammer. The drone fired. Jack ducked. The shot scorched the doorframe. His ears rang. He stood again, aimed, fired, and missed. The drone lined up for another shot. Its cannon glowed. Then from behind him, bang. A second shot rang out. The drone exploded in the air, flames lighting the sky. Jack turned and saw Kayla. Standing behind him, blaster in hand, smoke rising from the barrel. "You missed," she said coolly. "I didn't," Jack grinned. "I guess I needed saving." But Kayla wasn't smiling. She looked past him. At Lumi. "She's not waking up." Jack rushed to her side. Lumi's body was still warm, but her eyes were closed. Her lips moved barely, a whisper he could not hear. He knelt down. "Come on, Lumi, please." Kayla stepped forward. She gave everything to save us. The ship, the overload. All of it. Her body wasn't ready. "No," Jack said, voice shaking. "She didn't come this far to die now." Then a flicker. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened, just a little. "I heard you calling me," she whispered. Jack held her hand tightly. "You came back." Kayla sat beside them both, breathing hard. "She needs rest, and so do we." But rest was a luxury none of them had. The ship began to drop. Not fast, but steady. Warning lights flashed red again. Kayla looked at the screen. "We've lost altitude, and the core is unstable." "We're crash landing," Jack said flatly. Kayla nodded. "And we don't get to pick where." They hit ground an hour later, hard but alive. The shuttle slid across cracked desert rocks, sparks flying until it finally stopped against a rusted metal ruin. Smoke rose into the orange sky. Lumi was unconscious again, but breathing. Kayla checked her pulse. Still alive somehow. Jack stepped out of the broken hatch and looked. Around. Nothing but wasteland. Dead machines buried in sand. And silence. "What is this place?" he asked. Kayla joined him, frowning. "Graveyard. Old war zone." Jack knelt down and brushed the dust off a cracked emblem. It was human-made. Then maybe. "We're not alone out here." Kayla tilted her head. "You think someone survived?" "No," Jack said slowly. "I think someone's waiting." Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from inside the ship. A transmission. Weak. Old. But clear. It repeated only one word. "Help." The message had stopped. Just one word. "Help." And then silence. Jack Rayner stood inside the broken shuttle, staring at the blinking console. Outside, the desert wind blew over rusted bones of war-old machines, fallen ships, forgotten flags, a graveyard of battles no one remembered. Kayla paced near the entrance, her weapon ready. Lumi still slept, her breathing soft but steady. Her glow had returned, faint, but alive. Jack knew what they had to do. "This signal," he said. "It's coming from underground, somewhere beneath us." Kayla raised an eyebrow. "You want to go down there?" He nodded. "We need fuel, supplies, a safe place. And maybe answers." Kayla sighed. "Why do humans always walk toward danger?" Jack smirked. "Because sometimes that's where the light is." They found the entrance buried under sand and metal, a hatch, locked tight. But Lumi's touch made it open. Without force, just like before. She looked up, weak but alert. "It knows me," she said softly. "It remembers my kind. What is this place?" Kayla whispered. "Lumi." Placed her hand on the wall, and it lit up. Symbols danced. Lights flickered. Air flowed in for the first time in years. A hidden sanctuary. Inside were tall halls, broken labs, and long dead lights. But the core still pulsed. Still alive. In one chamber, they found a console full of data. Jack wiped the dust away. The screen flickered on. Project Haven. Classified Human-Alien Alliance. Abandoned. Jack read it twice. Kayla stepped closer. A secret mission between humans and us? They were building something here, Jack said. A future, together, before someone buried it. Lumi touched a crystal in the center of the room. It pulsed once. Suddenly, the walls lit up with recordings. Holograms. Memories. An alien scientist stood beside a human officer in one image. Laughing. Another showed a baby part human, part alien wrapped in glowing light. Kayla watched in. Silence. They weren't just allies, she whispered. They were family. Jack stared at the screen. This is what they tried to erase, what they didn't want anyone to know. They wanted power, Kayla said. Not peace. Just then, a rumble echoed above them. Not thunder. Ships. More were coming. The real force. Jack knew they'd found them. But he also knew they had a choice. He turned to the console. There was still a command link, still connected. Kayla looked at him. What are you thinking? We send the truth, Jack said. To every channel, every frequency, every corner of the galaxy. Lumi stood beside him, holding the crystal. Even if it makes us targets forever, he looked at her. Truth is worth it. Together, they activated the core. Light poured out of the sanctuary, rising into the sky like a beacon. Messages, footage, the past. The lies. Everything. Exposed. Hours later, they sat outside the ruins, watching the sky. No one had attacked yet. The truth had slowed them, changed them. Kayla sat beside Jack. Quiet. You gave up everything for this. I didn't want everything, he said. I just wanted you both to live free. Lumi walked over slowly, holding something in her hand. It was a small flower, grown through the cracked metal. Alive in the ruins, she handed it to Jack. For choosing us instead of power. Jack took it, eyes soft. No reward in the galaxy could match that. Kayla smiled, not with fire, but with peace. And for the first time in her life, she believed in something better. In someone better. In a human who chose love over control, hope over fear. And changed two broken lives forever.